Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down some pretty complex topics into clear, engaging presentations.
Okay, just imagine for a second you get a message that says that. That's exactly what happened to a team of 34 salespeople. They were summoned with just 1 day's notice to this all-expenses-paid trip to Saigon. So you gotta ask, right? What is really going on here?
Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on a truly, and I mean truly, unique organization. We're going to dig into its unconventional and often contradictory methods to figure out what makes it tick. And believe me, the answer is way more bizarre than you're probably thinking.
So let's start at the surface. What was the official story for this sudden trip to Saigon?
The whole event was framed with this really intense military language. Salespeople were called soldiers, they were organized into squads, and the trip itself was called a military command. And the official reason? Oh, just a simple tribute party for clients and, ceremony to sign their employment contracts. But of course, there's always more to the story.
All right, let's peel back that first layer of the onion and look at the real mission behind this so-called party.
It turns out this all-expenses-paid trip just so happened to coincide with a critical, super high-stakes sales deadline, and that put the entire team under an absolutely enormous amount of pressure.
Their actual mission? To secure 204 customer deposits, and they had to do it within their first week of operations. And remember, this was a brand new team of 34 people. The success of this whole thing rested on every single one of their shoulders.
Now here's where the math gets pretty interesting. You take 204 deposits, divide it by 34 people, and that breaks down to exactly 6 deposits each. And that number, 6, was hugely important for how they got paid.
And get this, the day before the trip, they were nowhere near their goal. They had only managed to lock down 28 deposits out of the 204 they needed. 28! You can just feel the pressure mounting, can't you?
So, this is the crucial part, this 6-deposit model. The money from those first 6 deposits wasn't for the company's profit. No, it was specifically to cover that salesperson's own salary advance and expenses. So if they didn't hit that target, the team couldn't even pay for itself.
This mix of intense pressure and a really unconventional financial model, well, it led the company to operate in what it openly and kind of proudly calls the gray zone of the law.
See, the company knew that in Vietnam, any business gathering with more than 20 people has to be reported to the local authorities. So they came up with a pretty clever plan to hide what they were really doing. So how'd they pull it off? Okay, step 1, they host a public party, which is totally legal, no permit needed. Step 2, they invite a very select group of 19 guests, just under that legal limit, to a separate private room for the actual sales seminar. And step 3, anyone else who wanted in could just join on Zoom from a cafe nearby. It was a pretty slick way to get around the rules.
This whole approach comes from this core, and you could say controversial, belief. The company argues that by legally minimizing its taxes, it's actually helping the country. They say it keeps money circulating in their own ecosystem, which contributes more to the economy than just paying taxes to a slow government.
Now, as we dig even deeper, we find out that the consequences for failing were, well, a lot more extreme than just missing a sales target. And this is where the story gets truly unbelievable.
Remember that huge performance gap we talked about? With just a tiny fraction of the money they needed, the company suddenly claimed it couldn't afford the very party had just ordered its team to fly across the country for.
So what was the company's solution? Well, this is where it just goes completely off the rails. They had their head of sales, a woman named Nak Ang, pledged to the venue. Yeah, you heard that right, as human collateral for the unpaid bill.
And this wasn't just some casual IOU. The venue was a government guest house, which made everything way more serious. The team got an ultimatum. Hit your sales targets within 1 week, bring in the cash, and rescue your leader. The whole thing was framed as the ultimate test of their loyalty and their all-for-one spirit. And just to make the stakes absolutely terrifyingly clear, the leader issued this chilling warning. Basically, if anyone on the team saw this crisis as a chance to climb the ladder, well, they were told in no uncertain terms that loyalty was not optional.
Finally, we get to the very core of it all, the heart of the onion, where all these bizarre, high-pressure tactics connect to one single, powerful figure and his absolutely mind-blowing global plan. Everything, and I mean everything. The military culture, the financial pressure, the loyalty tests, it all comes from one person, known only as Su-Fu, which means the master. This mysterious leader, who's based in Japan, is the one who funded the company's core AI product and came up with its entire philosophy.
So what is this master's grand plan? The whole idea is to take this deeply personal story, a story of love, heartbreak, family conflict, and ultimately salvation, and turn it into a global marketing tool. The thinking is that this powerful human story will connect with millions of people, drive massive sales, and eventually generate enough profit to fund a $60 billion charity. It's ambitious, to say the least.
And that really brings us to our final big question. When you look at all this, the military orders, the human collateral, the grand world-saving vision, you have to ask, where is the line? Where does a visionary leader with a powerful story end, and the leader of a corporate cult demanding total belief begin? What do you think? Where is that line drawn?